Now, on behalf of the family, I would like to invite the Honorable Peter J. Garcia, Mr. Lancaster's grandson, to come up and share a few words with us. Judge Garcia.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Superintendent Foles, Principal Welch, school board members, Jack, students and faculty of Joseph B. Lancaster Elementary, the Fighting Sea Turtles, and former Superintendent Gail Sloan and the family and descendants of Judge Lancaster. When Mr. Foles asked me to represent this family in making a few remarks, I was daunted by the task of representing so austere a group whose quiet, unassuming ways usually prohibit them from giving their own opinions. I asked Trey if I could have 30 or 40 minutes, and he asked me if I thought I was on the school board. To the public servants here, as soon as Joseph B. Lancaster decided to make St. Tammany Parish his home, after his birth at the end of the Civil War in the Mississippi hospital town of Brookhaven, and his rearing and education in New Orleans, he began his life of public service here in our parish in the 1880s. He served as deputy sheriff under Sheriff T.E. Brewster, became a notary public and read the law with attorney Ben Miller, and began joining numerous civic organizations that were a hallmark of early 20th century America, such as the Knights of Pythias, the Covington Fire Company, the Covington Literary, Social, and Dramatic Club, and the Covington Golf Club. I didn't even know we had golf courses in St. Tammany back then, but he ran for and won a seat in the state legislature to represent St. Tammany Parish. He was the district attorney, and he was a district judge. Governor William Wright Hurd had succeeded in 1900 in leading the passage of a public education law that created the position of superintendent of public education in each parish. Joseph Lancaster became our parish's first superintendent, and he dove into the job enthusiastically and with great fervor. He asked and received the support of other parish leaders to serve on the new school board, some of whose names we will still recognize today: Emil Furman, Paul Berger, Dr. George Tolson, Lewis Morgan, Levy Crow, J.J. Cusacks, W.F. Crockett, H.G. Menetry, and Paul Sadler. They were involved in the details that were vital to the parish's early and ongoing record as a leader of public education in Louisiana. The improvement of facilities of learning, the planning of new structures, including the enclosure of the Bogefly Park Pavilion so it could be used as a schoolroom, the hiring of teachers, including finding suitable housing for them. In a letter written by his wife Amanda to Joseph while he was in Franklinton in court, she reported that Mrs. Sam Poole phoned to say that she could accommodate 4 teachers and wished to know when to expect them. They also had to deal with the press. In another letter, Amanda wrote Joe to tell him of her feelings about the New Orleans Picayune lack of coverage of the ceremonies surrounding the closing of school for the year. She quotes, as far as the report of the school affair in the paper, it did make me so angry. I did not dislike anything more myself than newspaper notoriety, but dearest, I do approve giving credit where credit is due, though. Of course, dear, I would not discuss the affair with anyone. I would not have one think that I noticed such a slight, but I can understand how it came about. Neither Amanda nor Joe had a complaint about the St. Tammany Farmer, however, which published the entire minutes of every school board meeting. The report from January 26, 1901 revealed that through a careful custody of funds, the school system could and should operate not 3 months a year, but a full 6 months. So kids, they went to school for 3 months. They didn't have vacation for 3 months. They only came for 3 months. Joseph's goal in expanding the school year is plainly laid out in his report. I've given a brief summary of the educational as well as financial status of the public schools. The execution is up to us. The duty of acting now devolves upon you and me. Shall we or shall we not do our full duty in this matter? I earnestly believe that each and every one of you have the same common aim, the same common end in view that I have, namely the better education of the boys and girls of our parish, in order that they may become better men and better women. Our duty is to put the public schools upon a good and thorough educational foundation and maintain them here, and also keep a careful watch over the finances of the school fund. But our duty does not rest there. It is equally the duty of each of you as a school director of your ward, as well as myself as your parish superintendent of public education, to be the leader in the educational advancement of our parish. It is for you and for me to create a confidence in the minds of the people that we honestly intend to educate their children, to create an enthusiasm in their hearts for the public schools, and to be a leader in the cause of education in the locality in which we live. To the children and school teachers here, I'm sure that Joseph Lancaster, the man whose name is on your school, must seem like a figure from the faraway past. He did live a long time ago. He died 95 years ago, but I'm his grandson and I'm not that old. He lived and worked and played throughout St. Tammany as you did. His grandfather, David Bannister Morgan, chose Madisonville as his home, and that's where he's buried, in the old cemetery near the river. Joseph's father, William Blair Lancaster, built a brickyard in a home a few miles east of here on Lancaster Bayou, very near where the interstate crosses the Tchefuncte River. And Joseph himself enjoyed buggy rides from Covington out to the old home place on Lancaster Bayou, crossing the Bogfly River on a bridge just east of here. Joseph loved music and he loved to read. He enjoyed joking around with his friends. One of his best friends, Deed Smith, was the grandfather of one of my best friends, Larry Smith. Joseph was devoted to his children and eagerly described how much he missed them in letters home. Education meant everything to him. Here's how he closed the report I quoted from earlier. Our aim is to secure to every child in St. Tammany the benefit of a good, common school education. Our reward will be the attainment of our aim. As men and as citizens, we could not dedicate our physical and intellectual energies to a grander, nobler, or more sacred cause. Today's leaders of public education in St. Tammany built upon this strong foundation. The Times-Picayune this morning reported that St. Tammany Parish Public Schools lead the state in ACT scores with an average score of 21.8. Joseph came from a family of educators. His father taught at Spring Hill College in Mobile before the Civil War. His wife Amanda and sister-in-law Bertha Doer Aubert taught in St. Tammany Public Schools. His sister Mary Catherine Kate Lancaster was the principal of McDonogh Levin in New Orleans. 4 other sisters became nuns who taught at schools run by the Daughters of Charity in Chicago, St. Louis, and New Orleans. Joseph's son, Charles D. Lancaster, was a huge supporter of Delgado College in New Orleans, which named a building for him. His daughter Amanda taught religious education to Mexican Americans in El Paso, Texas, for most of her adult life. Joseph's grandson, Charles D. Lancaster Jr., who's here with us today, supported public education through his service in the Louisiana legislature as a representative from Jefferson Parish, particularly through his work in extending the T.H. Harris Scholarship. And I'm going to refrain from telling the rest of the story, Charles. Other grandchildren of Joseph Lancaster have taught at every level of education. Both of Charles's sisters, Margie and Lynn, have taught French at the secondary and collegiate levels. Michael Garcia, Edith's son, and my brother taught in the Jefferson Parish Public Schools, at Loyola University, and at the University of San Francisco. My brother Chris Garcia taught at St. Paul's, Tulane University's North Shore Center, and has been in educational publishing for most of his career. Many of Joseph's and Amanda's great-grandchildren are teachers, including Russell Shorman, a professor of anthropology at Brooklyn College, Mike Singleton, who was a high school teacher in Houston, my daughter Megan, who teaches art in St. Tammany Public Schools, the daughters of my sister Edith and Maylee, Sharon Easton Butler, a teacher in Texas Public Schools, and Michelle Ferret Prather, who's here with us today also, and the daughter of my brother Chris Ellen, who will teach art in North Carolina. Speaking of my brother Chris, who helped write much of this and did much of this research for me, he provided me with the quotes from the farmer and the letters. He is about to publish a book entitled Now and Always. It is a book of letters written between Joseph and his wife Amanda. He will present the first volume of Now and Always to this school as soon as it is published. The book reveals the love they both had for each other, for their families, and this special place in their hearts, St. Tammany Parish. Thank you all for honoring us with this naming the school after our grandfather and great-grandfather. Thank you all very much.